Inside the Arena is presented by Snoqualmie Casino and Hotel, Seattle's closest sportsbook.
Welcome to Inside the Arena, your source for everything off the ice, off the court, and outside the field of play. With your hosts, KOMO Sports Director Niko and KOMO Senior Reporter Chris Daniels.
Back for the 79th straight week.
How about that?
79, a good year for the Seattle Supersonics.
Great year for the Sox.
Yes. And
Yeah.
It's great to be back with you.
You know what? It was a great holiday, and now we're back to it. And Seattle sports never rest. And here we are, on the heels of the Mariners having a big thing. And there's still huge stories going on in Seattle sports that we got to tackle in this one.
Well, and one of the stories we just learned from producer Bill, is it stuffing or dressing? Can we answer that in this show?
Well, it's stuffing, but Bill is making the point that I didn't cook my stuffing inside the turkey, so then it's no longer stuffing. And that is, I think, a valid question.
And when do we just call it bread or uncooked croutons?
Oh, I hadn't thought about that either, to be honest with you. I just eat the darn thing.
Yeah, well, it tastes good.
Yeah.
Nonetheless. And, on this edition, friend of the show, Beth Knox.
We love Beth.
Head of the Seattle Sports Commission. She's going to be back because we're going to talk about this year in review, not just inside the arena, but the entire Seattle sports year. Think about all the stuff, Niko, that you have covered personally this year.
It is amazing when you're like, you have a big year, and every year is big in Seattle. Like, boy, oh boy, I don't know how anything can top this. And then something like 25 happens. The Mariners do their thing, the Leagues Cup, the FIFA Club World Cup. And then you say all that, the Seahawks are, going to the top of the NFC at the moment. And then you say all that and say, well, wait a minute, 26, we get the actual FIFA World Cup. And who knows what else happens with the other teams as far as their respective league plays. So, boy, what a lucky spot to be in, to be a sports fan in Seattle.
So we will be talking with Beth about all of that, everything that she's been involved in the past year. Extra tax revenue, by the way, with all those extra Mariner games. And everything coming up in 2026, even besides the World Cup. Beth, who has elevated the Sports Commission, will be talking about all that in just a few minutes. But first, what we like to talk about every week, the good, the bad, off the ice, off the court, off the field of play. It's Four Corners. We always like to round the bases. Niko, what's good this week?
Yeah, I'm going to talk about how I love the synergy in Seattle sports. And I think it's more than I've seen in a lot. There's a lot of great cities in this country that have several major league professional teams, something 2 or 3 or even all 4 of the big 4, and then other teams, of course, in other great leagues as well. But I'm always struck by, it does not matter the game, the time of year. There's a star player or coach or somebody from another Seattle sports team. Oftentimes at Storm games, I'm seeing Seahawks legends. The reason this is top of mind right now, the Seattle Torrent had that first ever home game. And that in itself is the positive. I mean, the outcome wasn't anybody wanted, but we all understood that we watched history there. We all understand that we watched the largest crowd for any women's hockey game in a United States arena. I was just wondering what the heck that was. I love it. He's hyping me up a little bit there. So in itself, that was special. But then when they show the Kraken players and Jess Campbell in there, it's like, okay, that's cool that these guys are in the middle of their season, and yet they're making sure they take a few hours to support the Torrent. Over the weekend, Huskies against Oregon, Seahawks against the Vikings. Who was at both games? Clutch Cal Raleigh. And everybody's, it's Cal's off season. Dude, do you think the guy does nothing in the the big jumper? Bill
coming in strong.
Yeah, wow. I should just shut up and let Bill play sound effects. But no, it's such a cool thing. And certainly to the point I was making, I mean, Cal's busy in the offseason. That's why he got so much better each and every season. And he could be even better next year. You never quite know. I just love the support across our team. It doesn't matter. I named a few top of mind from the last few weeks, of course, but it's constant. And you're always seeing, a Mariners big board or a first pitch, somebody throwing it out. You're always seeing at the soccer game, somebody supporting, in the Sounders in the playoffs, it was Rick Riz there with the scarf and getting everybody hyped up. It's just really cool to see. And they don't see each other as competition at all. Even if they're fighting for the same fans' wallets and everything else, they don't look at it that way. Or at least they don't project that they look at it that way. And I think it's the coolest thing ever. And it just really brings the whole city together, rallies it together. And I think I see it in Seattle more and done better than any other big city in the country.
You can make that argument. And right now, women's sports in the city of Seattle, I think, are on a high.
Oh, yeah.
And we have talked about it at length. Rough and Tumble is part of the equation on that as well, with Jen over at Rough and Tumble. But I want to turn your single into a double. I was going to say that the great thing this week is what we saw from the Seattle Torrent.
Heck yeah.
With that number, over 16,000 fans, the biggest crowd in the infancy of that league, of any team in the league in America, even besting the Vancouver Golden Eyes. And that was great at over 15,000 in a sellout at the Old Pacific Coliseum. They have a specific stadium now for women's hockey, professional hockey in Vancouver, unlike any other arena in North America. That was a great crowd. It was electric. We talked about it last week. And what we saw in Seattle even bested that.
Incredible.
And I got to say, I told you this off the mic. I got to get one of those uniforms.
That's the coolest sweater I've seen.
I don't know if they need to have another sweater.
I hope they keep that one. I mean, the Seattle, it almost brings you historic. You've seen the old Seattle hockey jerseys of yesteryear, and they kind of resemble that. But then you have the great colors of the Torrent on there as well.
Yeah,
Can't beat that.
It's been a great start. It's going to be fun to watch that team here throughout the season. Obviously, got to score some goals.
Yeah, and they'll be all right.
They'll be all right. I mean, they've got Captain America.
They've got talent. And, one thing Hillary said after the game, I was obviously covering it for us here at KOMO, and I think it plays perfectly into what you're saying. When they did, you and I have called it the Barnstorming Tour, but I guess it was technically called the Takeover Tour. And Hillary, of course, played here, and she said as they came off the ice, they wrapped things up. It was none other than the great Sue Bird who found her and said, "Hey, Seattle's ready for you guys." And I love that Sue said it as almost like a prophecy, because here we are with the numbers you just mentioned in that first ever home game, setting and smashing records. Hillary brought that up in the post-game press conference. She's like, how cool is that Sue called it? And of course, she wore a Sue Bird, like bedazzled Sue Bird jersey into the game Friday. So cool. And I can't wait to see how the season plays out.
Well, what don't you like this week?
Well, I have often on this show lamented how, and we talked about it, how college sports has changed so much, how it's just such a crazy thing. It's not what it used to be. And we sound like we're on, old man yelling at cloud, whatever you want to call it. This coaching carousel stuff is crazy. And we talk about the transfer portal, and Jed Fish has made this point. The calendar needs to change. The idea that in the middle of the playoff, Penn State lost their backup quarterback, other teams like that. And we've talked about that on the show before. But obviously I'm talking right now about Lane Kiffin taking Ole Miss to the college football playoff. They have a home playoff game with a chance at a national championship in a couple weeks, potentially, right? And he leaves. And he's going to LSU for this few dollars more. I mean, few relative to him. And
Ole Miss was going to pay the same thing.
Exactly. And it's like, for this, because they offer a better situation year in and year out, like, you're going to leave, and he's probably going to try to take those kids with him, a lot of the good ones, or certainly the coaching staff. They usually stick together. And it's like, couldn't be further from Oxford, Mississippi here in this corner of the country, but you feel for those fans, because it's like they've witnessed this season that, by my understanding, that state, that school hasn't seen in probably 60 plus years, maybe more. And you have it. And then the coach is like, well, LSU's calling, so sorry, guys. And that's that. And it's just amazing to me that we're in this position where you can leave a team that has a chance to play for everything high and dry. That's crazy to me. Sliding doors,
the Cougs almost beat them.
Isn't that?
Can you imagine if the Cougs went into Oxford and beat Lane Kiffin and the Rebels?
Well, two things. Lane probably wouldn't be at LSU right now.
Right. That's what I'm saying. Sliding doors.
And I don't know that they would be in the playoff either.
And how about those Cougs? 6-6, and we saw Jimmy Rogers finally let loose in the locker room. I don't know if he growled, Bill, but boy, they're going to go to a bowl. They're going to go to a bowl, and with everything this past year, hopefully Jimmy can eat something there. If that was his stomach growling, because he's had one heck of a year.
God, you guys got to stop this stuff. Oh my God. It made me cry here for anybody not watching on YouTube. Yeah, it was cool to see. And you know what? That's like, for what this season was, transition, weird as heck schedule, first year for Jimmy. A bowl game I felt was the benchmark, and it's good to see them there. And while we're on this, I want to give some props to Jed Fish. It appears he's staying as of this recording. There's a couple openings out there still, but at this point, appears like he's staying. And is that Dubs? And Dubs got more of a whoo, but it's this show's going off the rails quick. But it's one of those things that I think that Jed could have very easily left this time of year. It wouldn't be as pronounced because the Dogs aren't in the college football playoff. But the fact that he's likely staying and all those stars are likely here, I think it's going to be really an interesting, perhaps special year on Montlake in 26.
So to fill in the gaps there, Florida and UCLA, which were both rumored potential destinations for Jed Fish. He went to Florida, and that's how he got his start. Florida has now filled that role. UCLA is taking James Madison's coach after James Madison's season is finished. Again, a guy who almost lost to WSU. Sliding doors.
That's
what
like
could
the
have
badge.
happened?
Yeah, that's like the badge of it. Yeah.
So those two positions in particular, his name had been mentioned in various parts, potentially as a destination for him. Looks like they're now filled.
Yeah, that's just it. Florida was the one I think you had to worry about. And certainly UCLA made some sense. There's a couple other schools out there that maybe Auburn could have made some sense for the SEC and stuff. But, we talked about on the show, I really appreciated how Jed approached it from the standpoint. He never promised. He didn't pound the table and said, I'm here no matter what. But he also said they're building something special there. And I think you can see it. It's going to be at least a 2-game, maybe 3-game improvement year over year. The losses, unlike the first year when you're trying to fill it, they weren't like lopsided. I mean, yeah, you lost 24-6 with Ohio State, but they're number one. And it wasn't really that much. Like, it was closer than that score would indicate. Same with the other loss, Michigan. And of course, Oregon, they had plenty of chances to potentially win that thing. They just couldn't get it done. They're not there yet. This time next year, we could be having a different conversation about that and about what Jed might do after the season. But for now, it's going to set up for a nice 2026, I think.
Well, I will tell you the thing I don't like is just what I think a lot of soccer fans in the greater Seattle area are talking about right now, lamenting the idea you can't get a World Cup ticket.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true.
2 million tickets sold, according to FIFA, and they've had this lottery for people to buy tickets, and you can't seem to win the lottery or buy a ticket. And who knows at this point just how many of those tickets have been sold in Seattle,
right?
In what is going to be the Seattle Stadium, not Lumen Field. But it's going to be tough for people to get in to that game or those games, the 6 matches that are scheduled. And by the way, you might be listening to us after you've already heard the announcement on which teams will be playing when and where in Seattle. That is going to be an announcement here this week in terms of the group that the United States will be in, and then which teams exactly will be playing at Lumen Field. So this issue of getting tickets might be even tougher after that point, once we know who the U.S. in particular is playing at Lumen Field.
Exactly. You're talking about nations with teams that travel in bunches for this, and Seattle might be an easier trek depending on where on the globe they live. So it's going to be interesting to see how that plays out. I'll say this for any average Seattleite or anybody who lives in the greater Puget Sound, holy cow, that's going to be an interesting experience next summer.
Yeah, June and July. Okay. Yeah. How about an interesting experience, if I can say those words? That's the story about the potential return of the NBA to Seattle. Not a lot to report, but we like to give you what we know here every week in the Supersonic Minute. In the last couple of weeks, I'll give him credit. Bill Simmons, longtime podcaster, writer for ESPN, host. He has a podcast that a lot of people listen to. It's one of the more popular podcasts in the country. Within the last couple of weeks, he has suggested that according to what he's hearing, the NBA may only expand by one franchise in the near future. May not happen until they finish what they're discussing in Europe, but that right now Las Vegas would take the cake, so to speak, over Seattle at a cost of, I can't even put my head around this number, $7 to $8 billion, according to Bill Simmons. That's
quite high for an expansion fee.
In Las Vegas, and questions about where they would play and whether there would need to be any sort of renovations to the existing arena or arenas, plural, that are in Las Vegas. That's according to Bill Simmons. Take it for what it's worth. I don't have any reason to disagree with Bill. I still think that the Seattle and closing the loop and closing that story for Adam Silver is important.
Yeah, well, he said it plenty of times. Yeah. And my reaction, as we were talking about before we hit record, is like, well, okay, that gives you 31 teams. And you don't see leagues stick with that odd number for long. Producer Bill made the point, well, the NFL did it until the Browns came back, but that was only about 4 or 5 years. Speaking of the expansion with the Panthers, Jaguars, until they got the Browns, that sort of thing. Or the Browns, then the Texans, I suppose would be the number there, which that is still only about 3-4 years. So, I suppose the history is saying that it's not ideal, right? And we keep talking about how, well, relocation could be a better option for getting the Sonics back potentially, whether it's some battle franchises like in New Orleans is most specifically mentioned. I mean, I think we'll take it any way we can get it. Certainly expansion would probably be preferred, but however we can get that team back. But that would be the one thing I call on that potential only going to Vegas via expansion is that it puts you in a weird spot with numbers and things of that sort. Maybe that doesn't matter much. Certainly it probably matters less than slicing the pie further one more, right?
Yeah.
So that would probably be where the logic there is.
Well, we can talk about what is happening right now in Seattle. And that's there's been a lot this year. I mean, just think about this. Besides the playoff run by the Storm, the playoff run by the Mariners, the FIFA Club World Cup, the amount of money in tax revenue that's coming into Seattle, the Clipper around the world, professional softball, the Leagues Cup. That's a lot just for 1 year. And next year, it's not only the World Cup, but Region Ready, the Sports Star of the Year. These are all events that are run by the Seattle Sports Commission. And Beth Knox leads up the Seattle Sports Commission, and you're going to hear her look back and look ahead after the break.
Looking for the ultimate game day spot? Head up to Hawks Peak Sports Bar and Grill at Snoqualmie Casino and Hotel. The place to be for game days. With over 60 TVs, you won't miss a single play, no matter where you sit. Grab your crew, your favorite bites, and your go-to drink, and catch every touchdown, dunk, or goal in style. Hawks Peak Sports Bar and Grill, where every seat is the best seat in the house. Learn more at snowcasino.com.
All right, Beth Knox, we built you up here in the show. It's been another great year as far as Seattle hosting events and the Sports Commission being a big part of that. As you reflect on this year on the calendar, what stands out to you?
Well, Chris, first of all, thanks for having me back again. We love being able to jump in on your show as often as you'll have us. And yeah, we have a lot to talk about from the past year, just some really cool highlights. So I wanted just to share with your listeners some of what I consider as the highlights. It started off actually last January with the PWHL, Professional Women's Hockey League, doing the Takeover Tour. From that to the record-breaking Torrent home opener. What I see in that is that it really just had Seattle's passion for women's sports on full display. That home opener set a record at over 16,000 people for the largest attendance for a women's hockey game in a U.S. arena. And it was the highest attended home venue in the PWHL history. So that was cool. But speaking of women's sports, last July, the Athletes Unlimited Softball League drew sold-out crowds for a 3-game series at Husky Softball Stadium with UW legends like Sis Bates and Bailey Klingler. They had over 5,000 fans on site and 225,000 viewers. So, and the Sports Commission was really proud to also host hundreds of young softball players who attended a clinic with UW and the AUSL, and just having the foundation be able to bring that experience to the kids was just something really special for us too. And on this theme of celebrating Seattle's women's sports, when the AUSL was here last summer, we wanted to honor Seattle's leading role in women's sports. And so the Sports Commission brought together fans and athletes and electeds and partners for a program that was centered around our 3 professional women's sports teams, the Storm, the Reign FC, and the Torrent. It's just a great way to showcase all that is special about our city being a leader in that area. So let's see, it was also a big year of NCAA hosting. So we started off last March with 600 elite swim and dive athletes who competed in back-to-back national championships at the King County Aquatic Center in Federal Way for the Division I swimming and diving. And so we had both men's and women's athletes set both NCAA and U.S. records with Paris Olympic gold medalists and LA 28 hopefuls amongst all of these athletes. So that was just an incredibly inspiring thing to be part of. But also with NCAA Division I men's basketball, first and second rounds, we're over packing the arena at Climate Pledge Arena with over 18,000 fans for each session, so over 54,000 people total. Visit Seattle estimated a really impressive $13.6 million economic impact just from that event alone. We're also excited that men's basketball is going to return in 2028. So that's already confirmed. The next bid cycle to host more of these NCAA events will hit in the fall of 2026. So we'll start that process over and work on bringing in more NCAA events for us. Now let's talk national and international showcases that we had here in Seattle. We hosted 6 world-class matches of the FIFA Club World Cup last summer, featuring some of the best club teams in the world, including the eventual runner-up of Paris Saint-Germain. Now, our Seattle Sounders FC took on the world in 3 of those matches and eventually went on to win the Leagues Cup. At the national level, we had the Savannah Bananas, and I know you were part of that. That was just a really fun thing to have them debut in Seattle with 2 sold-out nights at T-Mobile Park. We had Seattle sports legends Jamie Moyer, James Paxson, Walter Jones, who participated, along with some Seattle entertainers like Pat Monahan of Train. We had lots of out-of-town visitors and national buzz on social media, lots of family-friendly entertainment from pregame to postgame. So that was exciting to host them. And then we shifted to the sport of sailing with Clipper Round the World race kicking off in Portsmouth, United Kingdom on September 1. So the Seattle Sports Commission has sponsored one of those racing yachts, and we named it the Power of Seattle Sports. It's one of 10 boats that launched on a nearly 1-year-long journey. It's an incredible thing to track the crew and skippers and first mates that are on all of these boats traveling for over almost a year. So through this international race, we're celebrating Seattle, our role as a FIFA World Cup host city in 2026, and also our support of women athletes. Fun fact, the Seattle boat is captained by professional sailors Angela and Amy. So both women, again, just showcasing the support that we have for women athletes. Now, all 10 of those boats will arrive in Seattle's Elliott Bay in April of 2026. So we use that opportunity when they are here to amplify Seattle's maritime history, the industry that we have here that's so strong, and really amplify the Emerald City to all of the crew members. So, and then the last thing I'll mention is that the Seattle Sports Commission Foundation hosted a number of youth sports clinics. We hosted the inaugural baseball tournament for HBCU, historically Black college and university baseball tournament, the youth baseball and softball tournaments for inner city teams. And then, of course, we had our annual Sports Star Award Show and the Pacific Northwest Football Hall of Fame in 2025. So, that was a lot, Chris. I know just shared a lot of details there. Looking forward already to a number of events, including those signature events that are going to be coming up in early in the year in 2026.
I'm surprised you're still standing. I had forgotten, frankly, about a couple of those events. The calendar has been so packed. I think it is interesting, though, in just a short amount of time. And I think, Niko and I have given you great credit on this. The type of events that have come to town since you've been in charge of the Seattle Sports Commission. I just think in the last couple of years, we're talking about the Major League Baseball All-Star Game, the NHL Winter Classic, the Leagues Cup that came to Seattle with Messi, the FIFA Club World Cup. We've got the World Cup next year, and then a bid as well for the 2031 Women's World Cup. Seattle is on that short list. That came out here just in the last week. What do these bids tell you about the type of events that you can bring, or how does that shape the bid packages that you're putting forward on behalf of the Sports Commission?
Yeah, thanks, Chris. It really does change things for our city as we are reaching out to consider some of these events that we'd like to host in Seattle. But just as importantly is that Seattle is now on the radar of a number of these leagues and conferences as a premier world-class city to host these events. So, once we get awarded these big events, then we're just suddenly in the spotlight. So from our city's perspective, it puts us on a global stage. It creates more visitors that are coming to the region, but it also makes our region more attractive to businesses that would like to invest in and come here. It brings more talent, more athletes for our teams. So it's all a part of the bigger picture of economic development and making sure that Seattle is a thriving region that the people can be proud to be part of. So to me, it's a meaningful role that sports plays in the success of our region and state of Washington. It's very exciting to be part of.
Yeah, I can only imagine now with Memorial Stadium and that reconstruction underway and the building of that new stadium, how it's going to open up to the International Fountain, the rest of Seattle Center. We know that during the World Cup, that's going to be where the Fan Fest is going to be there at the Seattle Center. That's got to be now a tool in your toolbox to try and recruit these other events, knowing that there's going to be such a large location for fan events. That's
exactly right. And those, all of the tools are such an important aspect in these bids. So having great venues that we can host these events in, having the compact downtown footprint that is walkable from the Seattle Center down to the Stadium District, has public transportation, our beautiful new developed waterfront. All of these elements are what we package together, and that makes it so appealing to these leagues and conferences and teams that would want to come here. So it really is a big picture, and all of those pieces have to come together. But we're fortunate to be in a city where all of that matters to our city leaders. And that's where I think we have a lot of compelling narratives to share and bring in more of these events in the future.
I know that we've talked about the NFL draft and potentially bringing that to Seattle. I gave you a free idea last time about having the draft picks on the water and taking the boat in. I want to mix it up though. Now I've got another free idea with now Memorial Stadium and the Seattle Center. You just have the green room at the top of the Space Needle, and once the draft picks get selected, they can take the elevator down, 30 seconds, 40 seconds, walk out to a brand new Memorial Stadium where the crowd is waiting, and it all looks great underneath Mopop and the Space Needle, and it's just a made-for-TV event.
It is. We have so many cool things to offer here. And, it's places like our waterfront and our stadiums and the Space Needle and all of those things that it makes us instantly recognizable when this is on a broadcast. And I'm telling you, that matters to these events because they want on a broadcast for it to not look like the previous city or the future city. It needs to look like Seattle. So having these iconic elements, that creates also a great experience for the athletes participating. All of that is what makes us a sellable city.
Well, and the Seahawks continue to win. If they can host a couple of playoff games, that's all free advertising as well for the city of Seattle, as we have seen before. So a couple of the events we wanted to mention as we turn the calendar on 25 and go into 26 that are going to be big once again for the Sports Commission. Region ready in advance of the World Cup and my favorite event of the year. Frankly, my favorite event of the year is the Sports Star of the Year. It's the Seattle ESPYs, as some have called it. Where do things stand with the planning for those two big events?
Well, we have dates for the first part of the year. So we're going to actually start kind of our big events with the Pacific Northwest Football Hall of Fame will be on February 12th. And those tickets will go on sale after the first of the year. We're going to hold that this year at Husky Stadium on at the club level. And then we will move into an event called Region Ready on February 23rd. And Region Ready is really for the greater community to learn about what's coming up. What do we need to do to be prepared to host all of these visitors and these events in the Emerald City? So that's a really great event also. And then, as you mentioned, Sports Star, I couldn't agree more. It is my favorite event as well. It has been for years. And we're excited. That is going to be on March 13th this year. So, of course, we will have the nominees for Sports Star, men's and women's sports, as well as Sports Story. That will go out to the general public in January, where they get to vote for their choice for Sports Star and Sports Story. And then we'll have lots of great sports celebrities that we'll bring in to present the awards for Sports Legend, Sports Humanitarian, Media Excellence, the whole gamut of great awards that we can showcase all that is special about our sports community in Washington.
Yeah, I don't want to influence the sports story of the year, but I can think of a few off the top of my head that people may want to nominate for that.
Yes, the committee is already in full force and putting all of those nominees together so that we can share those out with the public, and then they get to choose their favorite.
Well, we will look ahead to all of that. Plenty more to talk about in 2026, but for now, Beth Knox, thank you.
Thanks, Chris. Appreciate you having me, and happy holidays.
You too. So there you have it, Beth Knox. You know, Saturday Night Live has a whole bit, the Five Timers Club, where you get a jacket where you have the five on it. I kind of feel like she's in that zone with Inside the Arena right now.
Bill, do we have
to give her a jacket with the logo on it?
Bill, do you have like an extra KOMO jacket laying around? You just give her. Does she even want it?
As always, if you didn't catch the full interview, you can watch it on YouTube and every audio platform that seems to exist for podcasts these days.
Yeah, no, we love bringing it to you again. The full interview there. We're just glad to bring this to you. And I love when Beth comes on. Usually gives us something of a scoop, or at the very least, a great look ahead at the year to come.
And she's been involved as well in a lot of the planning for the World Cup, and a lot to say on that in the weeks ahead as we are going to know very shortly who's going to be playing in Seattle in June and July.
There you go. But until then, it's time for David Lee.
You've been listening to Inside the Arena with Niko and Chris. Please subscribe on your favorite platform. Until next time.
Inside the Arena was presented by Snoqualmie Casino and Hotel, Seattle's closest sports book.